Most people were never taught how money actually works, and that gap is not accidental. There is a reason the same financial habits appear consistently at the top of the wealth distribution, and those habits have very little to do with income level. The 1% are not simply people who earn more. They are people who relate to money differently, who process it through an entirely different psychological and structural framework than the one most of us inherited. Consider the average household. Income arrives, expenses consume most of it, and whatever remains gets saved, if anything remains at all. This is called the spend first model, and it is the default setting for the majority of earners across every income bracket. The problem with the spend first model is not laziness or lack of discipline. The problem is architecture. You cannot build wealth reliably inside a system that was never designed to produce it. The 1%, whether they articulate it this way or not, operate on what behavioral economists call the pay yourself first model. Before any expense is paid, before any bill is settled, a predetermined portion of income is redirected toward assets. Not savings accounts necessarily, but assets, things that hold or grow value over time. This single structural shift is arguably the most powerful financial habit that never gets taught in school because it removes wealth building from the realm of willpower and places it inside the realm of system design. Now, here's where the psychology becomes important. Most people think about money in terms of what it can buy. The 1% think about money in terms of what it can produce. This is not a mindset cliche, it is a measurable behavioral difference that researchers have documented across decades of wealth studies. When you see money as a consumption tool, every dollar that arrives is evaluated against your wants. When you see money as a productive asset, every dollar is evaluated against its potential output. That shift in mental framing changes every financial decision that follows. There is also something called the wealth threshold effect, and it matters enormously here. Below a certain liquid asset level, often estimated around $10,000, the human brain operates in scarcity mode. Neuroscience research shows that financial scarcity consumes cognitive bandwidth the same way a demanding task does, leaving less mental capacity for long-term thinking and strategic decision-making. This is why escaping the first threshold is disproportionately difficult. It is not just a math problem, it is a neurological one. The 1% understand instinctively or explicitly that reaching and holding that first threshold changes how you think, which then changes every decision that comes after it. The third habit is one almost nobody discusses. The 1% are obsessive about the difference between fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs are the silent killers of wealth accumulation. Subscriptions, lease payments, recurring obligations that drain income before a single discretionary choice is made. Wealthy households consistently keep fixed costs as a low percentage of income, which preserves optionality. Optionality, the freedom to redirect money quickly, is itself a financial asset. When your fixed costs consume 80% of your income, you have no room to act on opportunity. When they consume 30%, you become agile. None of this requires a six-figure salary. The structural principles: pay yourself first, think in productive assets, escape the scarcity threshold, protect optionality by controlling fixed costs. These apply at $3,000 a month the same way they apply at $30,000 a month. The ratios change. The principles do not. What the 1% understand that most earners never discover is that wealth is not primarily an income problem. It is an architecture problem, and architecture can be redesigned at any level. The most important shift you can make today is not to earn more. It is to restructure the order in which your money moves. Decide what percentage goes to assets before your expenses have any claim on your income. Start with whatever is realistic, even 5%, and treat it as non-negotiable. Build the system first. The behavior will follow the structure because that is how human psychology actually works. You do not need to think like the 1% to start. You need to build like them. The thinking catches up once the system is in place. If this way of looking at money is new to you, consider subscribing, because every week this channel breaks down the systems, the math, and the psychology behind how wealth actually works, without the hype, without the shortcuts, and without the noise.